The man who never had time for the railroad crossing always finds time for the funeral. Life has a strange way of forcing us to acknowledge what we refuse to slow down for. The man who races through his days, never pausing at caution signs, ignoring the flashing lights of warning, and believing that he's too busy to stop always seems to have time when tragedy strikes. When the train is coming, he speeds ahead, convinced that one more second saved is worth the risk. But when that same train claims a life, maybe even his own, suddenly has all the time in the world to sit in silence at a funeral, reflecting on what could have been different. Profound lessons from this truth is that a pause could save your life. We rush through life, dismissing caution signs both literal and metaphorical. We ignore warning signs about our health, our relationships, our spiritual condition. We think, I'll deal with it later. But some moments, if ignored, lead to consequences that can't be undone. Ignoring small warnings leads to big regrets. The flashing railroad signals represent the warnings we often brush aside, the doctor's advice we ignore, the spouse we don't make time for, the child who just wanted us to listen, the gut feeling we dismiss. One day, these neglected moments can accumulate into a tragedy that forces us to stop. You'll either stop by choice or by force. The irony is that the man who had no time to stop at the railroad finds himself with all the time in the world at the funeral. Life will make you slow down, whether voluntarily or when forced to by loss, pain, or regret. The choice is whether you pause now, when you still have a chance to change, or later, when all you can do is mourn what's been lost. Time isn't the issue, priorities are. The man never actually lacked time. He lacked wisdom in how he used it. If we're always rushing, never stopping for the moments that matter, we may find ourselves at the end of life realizing we were too busy chasing things that never truly mattered. Slow down before it's too late. The funeral is too late for apologies, too late to say, I love you, too late to make the call you put off, too late to take the advice that could have saved you. Whatever warnings life is giving you now, whether it's in your health, your relationships, or your walk with God, heed them while you still can. The most tragic realization in life is that we always had the time, we just used it on the wrong things. Stop for the railroad crossing now, so you don't have to stop for the funeral later. Proverbs 22:3 talks about wisdom in heeding warnings. It says, the prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty. A wise person slows down and takes precautions when warnings appear. The foolish ignore them and suffer the consequences. The man who refuses to stop at the railroad crossing is like the simple man who rushes ahead and pays a heavy price. Ecclesiastes 3:1-2 teaches us the importance of timing. There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die. There is a time to pause, a time to reflect, and a time to act. Rushing past the critical moments in life without acknowledging their weight can lead to regret when time runs out. James 4:13-14 teaches us that life is fragile and with uncertainty. Now listen, you who say, today or tomorrow we will go to this or that city, spend a year there, carry on business, and make money. Why? You do not even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. We act as if we are in control of time, always pushing things off to later, but life is fleeting. If we don't pause to heed warnings now, we may not get another chance. Matthew 16:26 teaches us about misplaced priorities. What good will it be for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? Rushing toward personal ambitions without slowing down to focus on what truly matters, so relationships, our faith, and our well-being can cost us everything in the end. 1 Thessalonians 5:6 teaches us about staying spiritually awake. So then, let us not be like others who are asleep, but let us be awake and sober. A spiritually asleep person ignores warnings and dangers, much like the man who speeds past the railroad crossing. The wise person stays alert, heeds warnings, and lives intentionally. Luke 12:19-20 teaches us about the fool who thought he had more time. And I'll say to myself, you have plenty of grain laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, you fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. then who will get what you have prepared for yourself? The man in this parable thought he had time to enjoy life later, but his time ran out unexpectedly. The same applies to the man who never had time to slow down until life forced him to. We all have railroad crossings in life moments where we must decide whether to slow down, take heed, and adjust our course. God's word reminds us that wisdom is found in those who stop, listen, and act before it's too late. Go spend time with a loved one. Thanks for listening. Leave a comment and subscribe.